Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I am from the Fairlawn Library. I am a young adult and reference librarian, and I'm here today to talk to you about two really great books that I've read in the last couple of weeks. I normally, and still don't, get to bestsellers when they first come out, so it always takes me a little while. Um, the book that I've been hearing about that I really loved, excellent, 5 stars, is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, the name Elizabeth Gilbert might be a little bit familiar to you because she wrote the memoir Eat, Pray, Love, and then they made a movie by the same name, starring Julia Roberts. So I was a little wary of this book for a while because I'm like, Elizabeth Gilbert, she wrote a memoir. I don't know how she would do with fiction, but I really love historical fiction, especially historical fiction that's not too heavy. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give her a try, and I'm so glad that I did. It was kind of perfect. So anyway, basically, um, Vivi, a young girl, she flunks out her freshman year of Vassar, and her parents don't know what to do with her. This is, by the way, 1940. So her parents are just totally disgusted. So they send her to live with her very eccentric aunt in New York City. And her aunt has bought a theater, a kind of old, falling apart theater, and puts on these rotating shows for the working class people of their neighborhood. Um, it's not a super professional operation, but it works, and Vivi just loves it. This is like what she's been looking for her whole life. She meets all kinds of characters, showgirls, actors, other theater people, other just cool different people in the city, and she just sort of burns out kind of quickly because she is sort of just living, the nightlife. She's young, but she ends up doing something very, very scandalous for 1940 and is sort of run out of town. But this whole time she's telling her story, she's obviously much older, and she's telling the story to this young girl, because she knew her father, but you don't know who the father is, you don't know who this young girl is, and she kind of tells her story, up through adulthood. So there's like kind of a mystery involved, and then also just the beautiful backdrop of New York City in the 40s, and also, when the United States enters World War II, there's a lot of, that as well. And I don't know, coming of age story, so good for not just adults, but I would even say older, mature teens, like juniors or seniors, would really, I think, enjoy this too. Loved it. The next historical fiction book that's also been super popular, maybe the most popular, in the last year or so, is Where the Crawdads Sing. I This is by Delia Owens, by the way. I was not too sure about this book the first few chapters that I read, but I'm really glad I stuck it out because it was really, really touching and beautiful, and really quick. I read it in a couple of days. I couldn't believe, I thought it was going to take me a lot longer than it did, but I really wanted to know the ending because there's also a mystery involved in this historical fiction book as well. Basically, immediately when you start the book, a murder has occurred, and a next chapter is told from the main character of the story, Kaya, excuse me, Kaya, and she is 6 years old, living with an abusive alcoholic father and her 4 siblings, and her mother, who at the beginning of the story leaves. She can't handle it anymore, and very shortly thereafter, all the other members of her family leave too. Her siblings can't deal with it. Even her father, after a few years, leaves as well. And so she's this very young girl living in the marsh of North Carolina in like the early 50s. And the murder occurs in 1969. So basically, the story is told little snippets of them getting clues about this murder, and then also Kaya growing up from being 6 years old to, her 20s. And she's just a very lonely girl, but she like loves nature. She really just that's what she does all the time. She just spends all her time with the animals and in nature, and she just gets to know it better than anyone. And but she is like craving human connection, and one day she finds her brother's friend from when he was younger, Tate, who befriends her, and then they become a little bit more than friends, and also teaches her how to read and really opens up her world in that way, because she went to school for one day and was sort of like laughed out of school, and she never went back. So she's this very smart girl, but then also Tate ends up abandoning her too. But never fear, she's a strong woman, and there's, like I said, the mystery involved with this murder. And I mean, I was like, by the end of this book, I was like reading it so quickly because I wanted to know what happened. So also, like I said, coming of age, this book is not just great for adults, but I would also say, same thing like City of Girls, older teens, juniors, seniors would really, really enjoy this book. So I hope you will pick up an copy of either City of Girls or Where the Crawdads Sing. Both are available on Libby with short waits. And thanks for listening.